Welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. Today we're jamming another game of cEDH, that's competitive Elder Dragon Highlander for those of you who didn't know. Let's hop right into it and see who is playing what. First up is Chandler on Etali, Primal Conqueror. This deck is known as Chunky. It is an extremely fast combo deck looking to generate a ton of mana, slam Etali, and keep the fun going with red clones, and then finish with a Food Chain or Dualcaster Mage combo. Up next we have Tanner on Kefka, Court Mage. This is a Grixis mid-range deck. This deck focuses on using its commander to accrue a ton of value and grind down its opponent's resources and then win with a combo. Up next we have Seth on Kinnan, Ponder Prodigy. This is specifically Big Flips Kinnan, and it is all about big mana, big creatures, and potentially winning with an infinite mana combo. And last but not least, we have Jason on Marneus Calgar. This is an Esper token control deck. He wants to gain a ton of value by generating a ton of tokens, and then he wants to kill his opponents with those tokens, or maybe a combo. We're about to hop right into the game. Hey, if you enjoy the video at the end, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And if you want to support us further, feel free to become a YouTube member. You can check out all of our links down in the description. We have deck lists, links to our socials, and our free public Discord. We're also sponsored by Dragon Shield, so be sure to check out our affiliate link down in the description below. And use code SMOOTH5 for 5% off your order. Now, on to the gameplay. Looks like Tanner wins the die roll. He'll start off with Arid Mesa, and he'll crack it for a Volcanic Island. He'll use it to cast a Soul Ring into Felwar Stone. And unfortunately for him, since he went first, that Felwar Stone taps for nothing. So, no Mystic Remora this turn. Anyways, the turn is passed to Seth, who will play Yavimaya Coast, and he'll cast Elvish Mystic. The turn is then passed to Jason, and he'll play a Marsh Flats, and he'll fetch for an Underground Sea, then cast his Mystic Remora, and then pass to Chandler. And he'll start off with an untapped Stomping Ground, then he'll cast Wild Growth onto it. He clearly can't pay the 4. Then after this, he'll cast a Chrome Mox, more tax evasion, and he'll imprint Invasion of Ikoria. And then the turn is passed to Tanner, who starts off with his Mystic Remora, and he'll commit tax evasion too. Then after this, he'll cast a Gamble, 4 not paid, and after tutoring, the card he discards is Mindbreak Trap. The turn is then passed to Seth, and he'll just cast Kinnan, and then pass to Jason. On upkeep, Jason will let the fish die. Then he plays a Morphic Pool as land for turn, and then he'll main phase a Fairy Mastermind and pass. He'll discard Exotic Orchard and Cleanup, and then we'll move to Chandler's turn, where he'll play a Basic Mountain, and then he'll cast a Destiny Spinner. This gets followed up by a now uncounterable Sylvan Library, 4 not paid, and then he'll pass the turn to Tanner, who does pay for fish tax and upkeep. Then he'll tap for 3 and cast a Rhystic Study, but Jason says you're not allowed to have that, force of will, and the pitched card is Gilded Drake. Obviously 4 not paid, and when Tanner draws that card, Jason draws a card off Fairy Mastermind. He'll then play Gemstone Caverns and pass. Seth starts off with Mana Vault, 4 not paid, and then he'll use it to cast the One Ring. Tax is not paid again, and this is Tanner's second draw, so Jason gets a Fairy Mastermind card as well. The One Ring then resolves, and Seth gets Pro Everything. He then goes to activate the One Ring. Chandler warns that this will get Jason another card, but Seth doesn't care. He wants to try to get a land drop this turn. But boo womp, no land drop, so he'll just pass the turn to Jason, who moves to combat and hits Tanner for 2. He'll follow this up with Urza Saga into Stride Hanger Automaton, and then the turn is passed to Chandler, who accepts his Sylvan Library trigger, which does end up drawing Jason a card, and then Chandler will pay 8 life to it. He'll then cast an Arcane Signet and evade taxes, and then he'll pass the turn to Tanner, who finally lets the fish die. He'll then meet One Ring with One Ring. Alright, it resolves. Tanner will then pass the turn, and on Seth's upkeep, Tanner activates the One Ring. Seth then takes a damage to his Mana Vault, but doesn't lose a life to his One Ring. Cheater. I'm just joking, he just forgot. He'll then activate his One Ring to draw 2 cards, and then Jason gets a card as well. He'll then cast a Mox Opal, and then Mystic Remora number 3 hits the field. The turn is then passed to Jason, and his Urza Saga ticks up. He'll then move to combat, and 2 damage goes over at Seth, and 2 damage goes over in the air at Chandler, and they'll just take it. After this, he plays Misty, which fetches for a Tundra. The turn is passed, and Jason discards 2 lands. On Chandler's turn, he'll pay 8 life to Sylvan Library, and Jason gets a Fairy Mastermind card. Seth then suddenly opens his mind's eye and asks, "Did I lose my life to the One Ring?" And Jason uses Supermath and correctly recounts every instance that Seth should have lost life at, and yep, they catch it, so Seth loses that life. Alright, on to Chandler's turn now. He'll play an Ancient Tomb. And he could cast an uncounterable Etali right now, but he really doesn't want to go for it with a Mystic Remora out on Seth's field. so he'll cast a Conqueror's Flail instead. He evades taxes, and after a lot of deliberation from his opponents, it resolves and gets equipped to the Destiny Spinner, and then the turn is passed to Tanner. And immediately there are One Ring and Fairy draws. He'll then cast a Lotus Petal, and then a Lion's Eye Diamond, and then a Mox Diamond pitching City of Traders, and he doesn't pay for any of this, and Jason also gets another card. He'll then cast an Underworld Breach. Okay, I see what's going on here. 4 not paid. Potential combo, so Jason responds with a Silence. 4 not paid. Tanner will respond with an offer he can't refuse though, trying to counter it. 4 not paid. Then Chandler decides to get involved and he will cast a Tybalt's Trickery targeting the offer. 4 not paid. Then Tanner will hard cast a Deflecting Swat. 4 not paid. Alright, stuff will finally start to resolve, starting with Deflecting Swat, and the Swat will change the Trickery's target to the Swat. So after it resolves, it's gone, and the Trickery fizzles. There is now another round of priority, and Seth finally decides to step in with a Mental Misstep, targeting the offer you can't refuse. This resolves, so it's countered, and then the Silence finally resolves. Tanner can't do anything now, so he'll pass the turn, and on instep, Jason will flash in a Valley Floodcaller. And then we move to Seth's turn, where the fish dies. More ring activation, which leads to more fairy trigger. Then he'll play and fetch with a Scalding Tarn for a tropical island. He'll then cast his Talisman, and then Simic Signet. This is followed up by a Wandering Archaic, and then the turn is passed to Jason. And on cleanup, Seth has to discard a lot of cards. They are Force of Vigor, Breeding Pool, Boseiju, Consecrated Sphinx, and Crop Rotation. Then the turn is passed to Jason. His Urza Saga will tick up to its 3rd chapter and he'll float a colorless before it resolves. Then he'll go get a Soul Ring. Unfortunately for Jason, he's not really finding any of his token generators. So he'll just play a Command Tower's land for turn and then cast a Ranger Captain of Eos. The tutor will find him a Mockingbird. Then he'll move to combat. 2 goes over at Seth in the air and 4 goes over at Tanner and they have to take it. After this, Jason will cast an Imposter Mech. And Tanner has response in Red Elemental Blast, countering it. Technically Seth gets a copy as well, but it really doesn't matter. Anyways, the turn is now passed to Chandler, and he'll discard a Mirror Maid in cleanup. Then Chandler will accept his Sylvan Library trigger, and he only pays 4 life this time. He puts 1 card back. Jason gets a card too. Chandler then plays an Urza Saga, and then with nothing better to do, he'll jam Etali. Jason responds by cracking Ranger Captain of Eos, so anything non-creature he hits can't be cast. From Tanner, he gets a Hullbreaker Horror. From Seth, he gets Nezahal. Jason a Talisman, and Chandler hits his own Mana Monkey. Okay, so he hit 3 creatures, and 2 of them are absolutely nasty. He'll just happily pass the turn and ask, board wipes aren't really a thing in cEDH, right? Jason says, yeah, not really, and then Tanner drops Blasphemous Act on his turn. And Seth gets to copy it. At least Chandler got 1 Nezahal trigger. Oh, scratch that. Jason responds with a Dark Ritual. That's 2 cards for Chandler, and 1 off Jason's Fairy Mastermind. So, Jason floats 3 black, and I guess Seth does as well, since he didn't pay the 2. Jason will then cast a Cabal Ritual. Alright, another Nezahal trigger. Seth and Jason both get 5 more black mana, and then Jason will flash in the One Ring. And there's a 4th Nezahal trigger. Alright, not so bad for Chandler now. It resolves, its ETB trigger resolves, and then Jason will draw a card off it, and the Blasphemous Act resolves. After this, Tanner will cast a Mystical Tutor, which finds a Demonic Tutor at the top of his library. Then he'll cast Kefka. It resolves, and everybody has to discard. It's Archdruid's Charm, Culling the Weak, Pongify, and a land, so he'll draw 2 cards. Then he'll cast his Demonic Tutor, which resolves, and the rest of the table gets a little scared. And then the turn is passed to Seth, and people are scared of what Tanner is going to do next turn. Now on Seth's turn, he'll draw 4 off his One Ring. He'll then recast Kinnan, then play a Gaia's Cradle as land for turn, then tap for 2 and cast an Arcane Signet, and then pass to Jason. Jason starts off by activating the ring to draw 2 more cards. He'll then jam Marneus Calgar and pass the turn to Chandler. Chandler will start off with his Sylvan Library trigger, and he pays 4 life to keep 1. He'll then play a Mana Confluence as land for turn, and then he'll cast a Llanowar Elves. He'll then move to equip Conqueror's Flail, and it resolves, so now his opponents can't cast spells. And Chandler decides to go for it. He'll start off with a Seething Song and float 5 red mana. He'll use 3 of that mana to cast Eternal Scourge, then he'll float a green and use the last 2 red to cast Food Chain. And there are no responses, so it resolves and Chandler begins the food chain loop, making infinite red mana by exiling and then recasting Eternal Scourge as many times as he wants. Then he can cast and exile Etali as many times as he likes as well, until everybody has no library. He'll probably just win from casting everybody's deck, but even if he can't, he just passes the turn and everybody loses before it gets back to him, so that makes Chandler and Etali the winners. Congratulations! And yeah, Tanner absolutely had the Thoracles combo in hand. Welcome back to the end of a SmoothBrainEDH video. How you doing? Before I say anything else, I'd like to point out just one little thing. 3 of the 4 players today played both Mystic Remora and the One Ring, drew a bunch of cards off of them, and still lost. Get bent. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let us know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out all of our wacky links in the description. I hope you all have a smooth day.